Dexter Resurrection just released episode 8, and honestly, it feels like time has been moving so slow. But either way, we start with the elephant in the room. No, literally, Angel Batista is sitting in his hotel room preparing for Dexter like he's some type of supervillain. This guy has mapped out Dexter's entire daily routine with the AirPods he left in Dexter's car. Angel basically knows that if Dexter breaks his normal pattern to go somewhere new, he'll be there waiting. Meanwhile, Dexter is having his usual therapy sessions with Dead Harry, talking about how Al is the last target from Leon's murder club. Dexter calls Al to suggest grabbing drinks, but our ponytail-collecting psychopath wants to head back to Wisconsin. But we all know that Dexter knows how to always get a quick talk with the killers. So, quick thinking gets Dexter to convince Al to have dinner first, because even serial killers have appetites. Especially Al. Somewhere in New York, Leon Prater is getting ready for a gala honoring injured New York police officers. The irony of a criminal kingpin attending a police charity event is pretty thick. Charlie decides this is the perfect time for a conversation about her growing suspicions regarding Red, or Dexter in our mind. She doesn't have concrete evidence, but her instincts are telling her something isn't right about their newest club member. Leon brushes off her concerns with complete confidence because he wants to have Dexter in his bed. Then we cut to Dexter, who's setting up what might be his most fitting kill room yet inside a wig shop. The location is perfect for someone who collects ponytails from his female victims, just like Al. But Dexter's main concern is that Al's size combined with his own bad shoulder will make moving the body quite challenging. Where he should be worried about is Angel's high-tech tracking technology showing that he's been in one spot for over an hour, which definitely isn't part of his usual routine. We cut to the police station where Staying Alive is playing again after so many episodes of not being played, and honestly, I am tired of this song, and I don't even think it's Wallace's fault. Now, things get more complicated when we see Detective Wallace at her computer looking up names like James Stokes and LaGuardia. She's digging into Miami Metro's past with some serious thoroughness, possibly trying to understand what Batista has been telling them about. Now, back to Dexter, we saw how this shoulder was so bad. So, Dexter visits Blessing's daughter for an acupuncture session. The conversation starts normal enough, with her talking about how her usually kind father has become more difficult since her mother's death, which is crazy to think about because Blessing is the nicest character. This is where Dexter makes a social mistake that normal people would probably avoid. He mentions how challenging it must have been for Blessing to serve as a child soldier in Sierra Leone, not realizing this information was never shared with his daughter. Blessing's daughter is crushed to learn that someone her father has known for 2 weeks has intimate knowledge about his traumatic past while she was completely kept in the dark. Dexter has just destroyed a family relationship without a care in the world, and I respect it. But either way, while Dexter is preparing for his Al situation, Harrison calls with his own crisis. Harrison is dealing with guilt over his confrontation with Vinny, Elsa's landlord, also known as Big Bobby. Harrison yells at the man about the dangerous mold situation, and now Vinny is refusing to take any repairs at all, potentially leaving Elsa and her son homeless. Also, if you could just hit that small red subscribe button, it would help me so much to understand that you guys actually like these videos. Now, before Dexter goes to do his business with Al, he and Harrison meet up for dinner near the theater where Al will be watching Hamilton. During this conversation, Dexter offers to talk to Vinny and be quote-unquote persuasive, which we all know is code for something much more sinister. He also tells Harrison that feeling bad about the situation is actually a good thing, showing emotional intelligence that seems almost foreign coming from him. Look at Dexter giving fatherly wisdom about feelings like he actually understands human emotions instead of just copying them. Now, while waiting for Hamilton to end, Dexter does what any responsible serial killer would do and researches his son's problem. He discovers that Vinny has a history of negligence lawsuits, including one where someone actually died because of his failure to maintain safe conditions. You can see the wheels turning in Dexter's mind as he processes this information, and Harry's ghost tries to remind him that Vinny doesn't fit the traditional code, but when has Dexter ever been strict about following the rules? But the Hamilton plan falls apart completely when Al decides he's had enough for one evening. Instead of staying for the entire show, he leaves early and hits the road back to Wisconsin. When Dexter calls to check on him, Al casually mentions that he's already driving home and maybe they'll connect next year if Prater's Club still exists. Now, as Al hangs up the phone, he literally just throws it out the window, which maybe is because he knows that Dexter is purposefully killing all the members, and he definitely knew that he was next. For this plan completely ruined, Dexter returns home to face the consequences of his earlier mistake. Blessing confronts him about revealing personal information to his daughter, and the man is understandably furious. He wanted to protect his child from knowing about the darkness in his past, asking Dexter to imagine how he would feel if Harrison knew about his own violent history. But despite Dexter's apologies, Blessing feels completely betrayed by someone he trusted with personal details about his trauma. I feel bad for Blessing because his anger is justified and his disappointment is clear as he realizes the man he thought he could trust has carelessly destroyed something precious. I just hope they don't leave each other. I mean, what would be Resurrection without Blessing, you know? Now, because Dexter is all angry and murder horny, he decides to redirect his frustration towards Vinny. He marches into the landlord's office uninvited, where Vinny immediately goes into full aggressive mode, shouting and demanding that Dexter leaves. This gives Dexter a perfect opportunity to see exactly what kind of person he's dealing with. Dexter thinks to himself that Harrison showed incredible restraint not physically attacking this man, and he hopes he can demonstrate similar self-control. Spoiler alert, he can't. Now later that evening, Vinny makes the mistake of walking alone through the streets. We even see a dead-end sign, which is a nice touch from the show. And then we see Dexter using the syringe efficiently and knocking the landlord unconscious, loading him into his trunk like he's picking up 300 pounds worth of groceries. The plan is to take Vinny to the fully prepared kill room meant for Al. But there's a shot of the tracker still attached to Dexter's car door that reminds us this situation is about to become much more complicated. Vinny wakes up strapped to Dexter's table in the plastic-covered wig shop, obviously freaking out about what is happening. However, the mask Dexter is wearing indicates that this isn't going to be a typical kill, as he's trying to scare Vinny into compliance rather than eliminate him entirely. Angel, meanwhile, is back at the location where his tracker shows Dexter's activity, and he spots the exact place where Dexter has been staying at. The sound of the front door opening alerts Dexter to immediate danger, so he cuts Vinny free and escapes before Angel can get visual confirmation. Angel's tracker shows movement again, but instead of pursuing, he decides to investigate what Dexter was doing in that location. What Angel discovers is a fully functional kill room with plastic sheeting covering every surface and a table clearly designed for holding victims. The setup is so obviously the work of a serial killer that even someone without Angel's experience would recognize it immediately. He's finally found some concrete proof that the Bay Harbor Butcher is not only alive but actively operating, and he immediately calls Detective Wallace to share the discovery. Now, while Angel is having his breakthrough moment, Harrison is having a lot of fun with Gigi. He asks her out to hang out, but she's feeling down because nerve damage in her arm has ended her dreams of becoming a detective. Harrison tries to cheer her up by talking about his father's work as a blood spatter analyst and all of the criminals he helped catch during his career. The irony of Harrison praising Dexter's law enforcement work while Dexter is literally setting up kill rooms is almost too much to handle. Gigi is charmed by Harrison, so they head back to the hotel where Harrison finds creative ways to make her feel better about her situation. I can't say more than that, so I recommend just watching the episode. Meanwhile, his father is having a much less pleasant evening as he finally finds the AirPods that Batista hid, which, in my opinion, Dexter would have realized immediately when Batista put them. Angel shows Wallace and Melvin the kill room, but they're understandably confused by what they're seeing. He never actually saw Dexter at the location, and they can't understand why the Bay Harbor Butcher would cut his victim free instead of following through with the murder. The legal complications are significant as well, since Angel tracked Dexter without obtaining a proper warrant. When they check Angel's phone, the tracker shows as inactive, which makes this story seem even less credible. The detectives start looking at him like he might be experiencing some kind of breakdown or delusion. Then we cut to Dexter, where he's hiding in his apartment, consumed with anxiety that Angel potentially might be arriving with backup at any moment. Harry's ghost tries to calm him down, pointing out that Angel is working alone and lacks concrete evidence. However, Dexter knows that Angel will never give up on exposing him, which creates an impossible situation. He can't eliminate Angel without creating massive problems, but he also can't allow the investigation to continue. Now, back at the police station, Wallace continues researching the names that keep appearing in connection with the Bay Harbor Butcher case. Her investigation leads to call Joey Quinn down in Miami. Yes, Joey Quinn, asking about the current status of the case. Quinn is confused because the Bay Harbor Butcher investigation was officially closed years ago. When Wallace mentions that Captain Batista is pursuing it, Quinn drops the bombshell that Angel retired and is no longer a captain. This sentence completely changes Wallace's perspective on Angel's credibility. The discovery doesn't make his theory false, but it certainly undermines his authority and makes his claims seem less legitimate. Then we see the Morgan family having some dinner. Harrison is excited to report that Elsa's apartment situation has been resolved, with Vinny suddenly becoming cooperative about necessary repairs. He wants to know what Dexter said to convince the landlord, and there's obvious admiration in his voice when he suggests that Dexter scared him in his way. Harrison tells his father that he appreciates having someone who cares about justice the way he does, which should be a heartwarming moment of connection. Harrison even asks if he can stay with Dexter for a week, which is because the gala members are staying at the hotel. But instead of feeling joy, however, Dexter is suddenly overcome with anxiety as Leon Prater walks into the restaurant. Yeah, Leon's entrance is perfectly timed, and as he approaches their table with that weird smile, delivers the line that changes everything.
Red, I didn't know you have a son.
The words hang in the air because they represent the complete collapse of Dexter's careful identity. Leon has connected Red to Dexter's real identity and discovered the existence of Harrison, which puts everyone in immediate danger. Outside the restaurant, Charlie is smiling with satisfaction, suggesting that she played a role in Leon's discovery. And that's where the episode ends. Alright, here are my quick thoughts on this episode because this video has been longer than usual. First off, it was so satisfying to finally see Angel acting like an actual detective. The man missed every red flag for years, but better late than ever. Dexter's decision making was absolutely terrible though. This is supposed to be a calculated serial killer and he can't see AirPods Batista clearly hid. Either way, I love the Vinny storyline. Dexter using psychological torture instead of murder shows actual growth, but the blessing betrayal did hit hard. Dexter just casually revealed personal trauma like it was nothing, which I hope it doesn't make Blessing into an enemy. Leon Prater walking into that restaurant was terrifying, but definitely needed to make the storyline better, especially because Peter Dinklage brings such quiet menace into this role. In my opinion, this episode is a major turning point because all of Dexter's separate worlds are finally colliding.